So I'm gonna have to do this episode sitting down because I'm so tired from moving stuff and coordinating this sort of expansion that we have going on. So I'm glad that I have a nice, soft, comfy place to say, welcome to another episode of Prophet's Resurrection Land Cruisers TV. We have logistics problems here, and the problems are that we don't have enough space, and real estate buildings right now are so expensive. Rather than move and increase our monthly nut by 50 grand, we decided we would expand our place once again. So what we're doing is we're gonna move all of our parts out of the warehouse, which is a nice building, and into shipping containers, and then remodel the warehouse and turn it into the body shop, which is actually pretty cool because then we've got our body dust guys all in one basket. We can take care of their dust easier that way. But anyway, here's what we're doing. So far, we've got 5, but there's more showing up. We're gonna fill this whole area. And then we have to figure out how to organize the parts in here. And I asked the guys in the shop what they thought, and they've had all day to think about it. So now we're gonna go ask them and see if they have solutions. Bob is ridding like crazy. Explain to our audience what rid means, Bob.
Get rid of. Pretty simple. If you don't want it, you get rid of it.
You made it sound so simple. Why do we have such a hard time doing it?
Because it's not that simple. Because
Yeah.
you don't know what to get rid of, always. There's always questions and you never know for sure.
So we were out at the Connex boxes, which is insanely funny.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how to organize them, and it's tough. And so now we're just going through the shop to see if anybody has any on-camera opinions.
On-camera opinion. Well, I'm going to
You get 15 seconds.
stick to my guns. Anytime I walk in a warehouse of any sort, an irrigation pump or a used auto parts, or it's always buy components. All the steering components are together, and then your Dodges are here, and your Chevys are here, and your Fords are here, and your Toyotas are on top of all of them, because that's better than all those others. So,
And T-Comes before D.
But yeah, for me, it's systems. We build it all as systems and not vehicles.
So you're thinking that we should have a shelf with steering wheels.
Yep.
And they should
All
have
the
40 steering wheels earlier, and then later 40 steering wheels, and then 60 steering wheels, and then 80 steering wheels, and then 100 steering wheels?
All the steering wheels.
Okay.
That way, if I need a steering wheel, I go get a steering wheel. I don't. For me, it's by system.
All right.
Not by vehicle.
We're going from person to person. So we're coming to talk to you about parts organization.
Okay.
I don't know why we're putting this in an episode, but I think our viewers probably want to know how decisions are made around here. It's not all directed by me. We actually care about what other people think. So, how do you think we should organize parts in the Connex boxes? Because we're going to start like maybe day after tomorrow.
I think it should be done by series. 40, 60, 80.
Keep all the 40 parts together.
Yes.
In like 2 or 3 boxes. Or 4.
I do.
And then 60 and then newer.
Yep.
That's different. That's different from what Rudy said. Now we need a tie-breaking opinion. Bob! Shipping containers. Organization of parts.
Didn't we already talk about this morning?
Yeah, but now the camera's here and I want to... we talked about it, but we didn't come to any conclusions.
Well, my opinion is the only one that matters. So,
Unless you ask me.
Yeah. Body guy versus mechanic is a never-ending...
I think Bob and I are on the same page anyway. Yeah.
I agree with Eddie. Don't try to mix like all the fans and all the stuff together because it'll just get confusing. You should you should do it by 40, 60, 80.
So I'm going to throw a devil's advocate wrench in, and then we're going to go talk to a fourth person. So if I go to the grocery store, all of the cereals are in one aisle. They don't separate the aisle by sugar-free cereal,
Yes,
gluten-free cereal.
They put all that nasty like brand nobody wants to eat by itself, and then they put the. Yes, they do.
But it's all the same aisle. It's the same row.
Then you need bigger Connex boxes.
Yeah, you would have to have much bigger Connex boxes to do that. So I think that's the only option.
Why would I have to have bigger? First of all, Connex boxes are all the same. Well, they're two sizes. I don't think you can get bigger. You
could
taller.
weld two together.
High cubes.
Then Bob will do the body work on them. We'll paint them.
See, this is why.
Bob will do what? First the body work on them. We'll paint them.
Yeah, I know. First, we're gonna color match them to some metallic color. That's Bob's favorite thing to
Color
do.
match the dirt.
And then we're gonna butt match every Connex box. We went out and looked at the Connex boxes, and now we're walking around talking to people about how we should organize parts in them. And there is a disagreement in the shop. How should we do it? If it was Casey's world, how would it
In a
work?
perfect world, you'd have like 100 Connex boxes, but I personally think by series. It's just that way when you're working on something, you know which ones to go to, and all that's going to be in there is that parts for that series. I know a lot of things do interchange, but I think that just kind of muddies the water a little bit. Like, because then if you have something, you take it back, and then you got two of the same things that are almost identical but a little bit different, and you waste time to grab it.
Or if you're ridding.
If you're reading something and you're putting it, and then it kind of gets, I don't know. I feel just like my series makes it a little bit easier.
This has been causing me to lose sleep.
It's hard.
See how tired I look? These are bags. So being the most blue person here, you probably want to do a bunch of research into this before you render your opinion, but we're trying to figure out how to organize the Connex boxes.
Okay.
Gut feeling.
Gut feeling is there's no reason to rethink and redesign everything. That the fact of the matter is there's always someone who's existed far before you who's already way smarter than you and who's already solved the problem you're trying to solve. So to me, that tells me, go into any parts store, go into any warehouse. How are they organizing it? Obviously, they're efficient. You should just do what they're doing.
Let's do some research.
Well, no, because what it is that there's already a warehouse that exists out there that more than likely organizes things by this is all one type of thing, and then we sub-organize it into different models of that thing. You walk into an auto parts store, you buy brake rotors. You're not gonna have Ford brake rotors, Toyota brake rotors, whatever. They're gonna be all brake rotors, and then the different ones, they're gonna be organized on those shelves by what brand they are and what fitment they're for. So if we do that in the parts shelf, I see no issue with that, because the other thing that allows us to do is not over allocate space. We can allocate space as we use it up, instead of saying this is going to be the 40 Connex and then it's half empty if we only have half Connex worth of 40 parts, which we don't, but just hypothetically. So it's going to be one of those where if we have a Connex that says this is going to be for mechanical parts, with way more certainty than just one body style parts, we can fill that up and then we can divvy it out. So then we know we only have to allocate as much space as the parts we have. Maybe a little more, because obviously you collect more, but that's kind of where I'm going with it.
He lost me.
I know what he's saying. He's saying exactly what Jordy's
He's saying exactly what Jordy's saying.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, what Jordy said.
Okay, all right. Okay, there's no Jason, so we're just coming to you, Janny. But first of all, I'm exhausted. All right. So, we've been through the shop. We're talking about organizing parts. Somehow we've decided to involve our viewers. And there's a pretty
Line down the middle?
well, it's not down the middle. It's more like everybody in the shop versus two people. What do you think? Do you want to know do you want to know, Sean? You should hear what Sean said. Sean said, why are we even thinking about this? This has been done over and over and over again by people who, organize things professionally. Go look at any warehouse, any parts store, any commercial storage facility. They're going to have it organized by piece. All the fan belts at O'Reilly are in one aisle. All of the radiator hoses at CarQuest are in one aisle. They don't have FJ40 radiator hoses in one aisle, FJ60 radiator hoses in another aisle. It's really hard to argue with that logic.
That's why I think it's going to be the easiest way, is to have all the parts together and then separated by vehicle in those parts.
That's... Really? You don't think that all the 40 parts should be in one box? Or two boxes or three boxes?
No.
So you're thinking I gotta come up with all of the taillights should be in one box. And FJ40, early FJ40 taillights, which are different than later FJ40 taillights. And then FJ60 taillights, which are all the same. And then FJ80 taillights should all be together, nestled together in one box so they can see each other and talk to each other, which parts do, by the way.
As long as you separate them, as long as they're separated and labeled. FJ40 on this side, FJ60 on this side. And labeled, like, clearly.
I wish I had time to ask the thing. Okay, all right. I'm gonna show you the seedy underbelly, the part of this place that I'm embarrassed about. I hate clutter, and I like things to be neat and just so. And so we've never had the space to make it that way, and it's a bad thing. This is the seedy underbelly of a Land Cruiser shop, but I'm telling you, by August, when we come back through here, you're gonna be amazed at the difference. Now this looks worse than it normally looks, and I'll explain why. So we've been moving stuff, and you can just pan around and show people our grotesque side. So we've been moving stuff, a lot of stuff, out of its cubbies and corners. And the reason we've been doing that is we are going to reorganize in a massive effort all of our used parts into a new parts complex, which is where the $53,000 came from, is what we've spent on shelving and Connex boxes and things like that. But if you start over there, you've got axles and lots of them, transmissions and transfer cases, tons of body tubs, including some new body tubs. And then here's all of our engines, 1Fs, 2Fs, 3FEs, 1FZs. And then there's parts cars, ignore the Jeep. Ugh. And then more parts cars, right? This kind of looks like a junkyard, and I hate it because none of this is junk, it's all invaluable. These are the leaf springs we organized yesterday by model and front and rear, but they're just temporarily here. More parts cars. That thing hit a snow plow going like 55 because it's an FJ55. More parts cars. Mike McGinnis, come pick up your 70 series, it's in our way. A whole bunch of stuff that doesn't need to be stored inside, but still needs to be organized. This is Seat Mountain number 2. We used to have Seat Mountain. Seat Mountain was this giant pile of seats, and we actually sold them, and I wish we wouldn't have, because seats are really, really hard to find in good shape now. But these seats were all stored inside one of these boxes, but we have to move these boxes. So we've taken everything out of these boxes that were here. We've acquired those boxes. We spent, I don't know, $10,000 or $15,000 on shelves, and there's more shelves coming. Now we're gonna move these boxes over there, onto that nice level pad that DJ did for us. And those boxes are all getting shelves. And then we're gonna put all of this stuff back into those boxes, super, super organized. And I need a used parts person to come. That's a pile of trash. I need a used parts person. I guess it's kind of like a help wanted segment, to come help with this stuff. This is all stuff that came out of those boxes that we have to reorganize. But here's where we're gonna be eventually. Eventually meaning 2 months from now. This is the map of this box. And we're gonna have all of the shelves populated with those parts. This is the map of this box. Nothing in here yet, but it makes a great sound when you walk in it. New shelves here. The shelves are labeled. They have everything, a place for everything and everything in its place. Well, we are making a place for everything, and then we're gonna move all that stuff in here. Should cut down on the amount of time our guys have to spend looking for stuff. That's really the first goal. Also to keep track of this stuff, because it's all valuable, right? Everything that's here is, somebody needs it. Somebody needs this stuff, right? So we're gonna try to take care of it. Oh, but it is a big, big job. Let's go look at the warehouse. I'll show you how much bigger. So this is the warehouse. It's a horrible mess in here too. This is gonna be the body shop when we're done remodeling this whole thing. We're putting in a new super fancy high-tech downdraft paint booth and all the cool goodies. That means all of these rows of parts have to go. All of these wonderful Land Cruiser parts have to go. Right now you can barely even walk through here. Watch your step, Todd, as you come through, because it gets destroyed super easy because it's not that organized. But we're fixing it. All these parts are gonna get categorized, organized nicely into those Connex boxes. We even have parts hanging from the ceiling. There's so many parts here. And look at that wall of heaters and blower motors. And it doesn't end there. See, I told you I was embarrassed about this. Just because we don't have any parts people, right? So you know, the technicians come out here and they get stuff and, you know, they're worried about being the guardian of the customer's pocketbook, so they don't want to, you know, they don't want to spend any extra time when they're clocked in on a customer's rig putting stuff away, so it just gets worse and worse and worse. This is a, you know, this is the result of 7 years of basically letting your 12, 13-year-old girl have her way in her own room, right? Like, anyway, this is what our 12 and 13-year-old girls, or 12 or 13-year-old girls' room would look like, right? Anyway, lots of body parts out here, lots of body parts in here, and then we just scrapped a bunch of body parts today too, because there's just not enough room. We're gonna build oh look, more parts. We just took a big truck and trailer load to scrap. There's a dumpster, we're gonna throw away more stuff because this space that used to be occupied by tons and tons of body parts is now empty, yay! Because we're gonna add on to this building right there. That's where the new paint booth's gonna be. That's where the new wash bay is gonna be. And there's more body parts here that have to find a home. Something like this seems unovercomable, right? Like, we'll never finish it, but we will. We're spending about an hour a day. And if I get some more people to come work here because this place rocks and everybody loves it, maybe we can get it done a little faster. So let's consider this before, and we'll do an after when this is all done. You guys will be amazed. Just like building the Land Cruiser. A lot of steps. I'm sorry about the dirtiness of this car. It's because of equipment. Skid steers and equipment. We're pouring concrete. There's construction happening. Lots of dirt moving back and forth, and I can't keep the dust down. So if there's any dust on this in the episode, please excuse the dust. But this is a very special FJ60, and I'm really excited to show you guys. What is kind of the reason behind that whole thing is this right here. Follow me. The stance of this Land Cruiser is different than FJ60s normally are. The outside of these tires is just a tiny bit outside of the body, and that's a really cool look for 60s. A lot of people accomplish this with wheel spacers, with evil, horrible wheel spacers, but that is not what's on this. What is on this is an 80 series chassis, and that is a very popular thing to do on 60 series Land Cruisers. Upgrade the chassis to an 80 series chassis, and that's what this build is all about. So since that's the motivation for the build, let's go underneath. It's a good thing when your chassis is so clean that dust is a problem, but it just bothers me. But I probably will never get it off, so I guess I'll stop and talk about this. So this chassis is actually pretty cool. You've seen it on one of our other episodes, but this is an 80 series chassis under the 60 series that we've modified. From the outside of the frame, you can't even really see where the splice was, but it's right here, right in the middle of the front control arm mount, is where we've shortened the frame a little bit to accommodate the wheelbase of an 80 series. And then on top of that, all of the body mounts were custom made to accept the 60 series body. So if you check those out, they're all actually really cool. Alex designed them to look very much like Toyota would have built them, so it's kind of hard to tell if this is even a custom chassis at all. Great thing about an 80 series, solid front axle front, of course solid front axle rear, fully floating, four-wheel disc brakes, coil suspension all the way around, much more modern than the 60 series, so the drivability of this rig is absolutely fantastic. And so enjoy the detail of this undercarriage while I dust some more. Couple more cool things while I'm under here. I should mention that we put some King shocks on this 80 series suspension. They actually have an application for a stock height to slightly lift at FJ80, and we were able to use those with the stock springs in the front and some lifted springs in the rear to compensate for the weight. And part of that weight is this massive fuel cell that we've built here in the back. It is pretty cool that you can fit about a 42-gallon fuel tank in the back with this chassis configuration, and there's even extra room. I mean, I guess if you wanted a second fuel cell up there, but it seems kind of silly. 42 gallons is ample. All in all, if I could get the dust off of this, this is probably the coolest chassis we've ever built. So with all that coolness going on underneath, we had to do some cool things on top of it, right? What we did, we started with a 60 series body, an 85 FJ60 in this case, and then we redid the entire interior and the drivetrain to make it super drivable and comfortable. Let's look under the hood. So under the hood, we've got a Cummins R2.8, and behind it an 8 HP 80 8-speed automatic. This drivetrain is really sweet in this particular setup. Very peppy, scoots around, handles the mountain pass as well. We've also got all the things that we do to make these engines cool in here. We've got a giant air sandwich, great big intercooler, biggest aluminum radiator you could possibly fit, with a mechanical fan to suck air through all of that to cool this engine. They actually do generate quite a bit of heat, but with a mechanical fan, and that's the key, they cool really nicely. Of course, we've got the ARB dual compressor for the lockers, because we've got differential lockers front and rear in this. All kinds of cool little mounts and doodads, giving this engine kind of a industrial, but very clean look. The client for this build didn't want a standard ARB bumper for the front, because those do look actually pretty cumbersome with the tube work on top. So we went ahead and built the lowest profile possible custom front bumper with no tube work, but it does house a worn winch, and it's tucked in there pretty nicely. A set of Method 17-inch wheels with a 4 1/4-inch back spacing work perfectly with the 80 series chassis, and we built some custom rock slides to continue that black theme across the bottom of the truck. The paint on this vehicle is kind of an accidental stage 2, if you will. We started with a Land Cruiser that was actually in really good shape, and we were hoping that we weren't going to have to repaint the whole thing, but a scratch here, an imperfection there, led up to pretty much the entire vehicle needing to be refinished. It kind of goes to prove that there just aren't any shortcuts in building rigs like this. So inside this Land Cruiser, you're going to notice a couple of differences. For starters, we incorporated a 6-point roll cage. Why a roll cage in a 60? Well, why not? I mean, if you're worried about rolling it, roll cage can definitely afford some more protection. So we went ahead and tucked one in as best as we can, and then refinished it in a matching interior color so it doesn't stick out that much. Another pretty cool interior feature that we've added to some of our 60 series higher end builds is this rear view mirror / forward facing camera / reverse camera unit that actually is pretty nice compared to some of the ones you see on the market. When you don't have room in the dash for a doubled-in stereo, which you don't specifically on FJ60s, this rear view mirror camera is a very nice addition. The seating in this FJ60 is all factory, but of course we have covered it in leather, and we have custom leather door panels and Tuffy box top to match. The Tuffy box is a standard Tuffy box with our top on it, and then we've built onto the front of it the shifter console, a place for a couple of drinks, and then in front of that a wireless cell phone charger. Anytime you're using a long automatic transmission that relocates the transfer case a lot farther back than the stock one, you have to go with a twin stick shifter. It's virtually impossible to do a great job of modifying the factory shifter linkage, so we've got a split case twin stick shifter kit from Advanced Adapters. Another addition to the Tuffy center console are the switches that we've added to the front of it for the driving lights and also the ARB locking differentials. Rear seating in this FJ60 is the factory bench seat recovered in leather, and of course we've added 3-point retractable seat belts. In the back of this FJ60 you've got your standard cargo area, but of course with new carpet and custom cargo panels to hold a pair of 6.5-inch speakers and also an 8-inch subwoofer. So if you're a fan of the 60 series styling, as I am, but you want them to drive a little bit better than they do on leaf springs, actually a lot better in this case, then the 80 series chassis is a pretty good way to go. Trust me, it's a sporty ride. Sorry you can't drive it. I guess if you show up in the next couple of days, you can. I appreciate you watching this episode of Prophet's Resurrection Land Cruisers TV, but I have to get up and get back to work because we have a lot going on here as usual, but I appreciate you watching. Check out all of the rest of these episodes. There are so many good ones out there, and I love getting comments, so make comments below at the bottom if there's anything you like or don't like. Also, on Instagram, we're Pro Cruiser. On Bring a Trailer, we're Pro Cruiser. On Facebook, Resurrection Land Cruisers, and the website, resurrectionlandcruisers.com. Thanks for watching. 10% of the stuff we get with him on camera actually gets used. Not like Bob.
Yeah, I'm a little...
No, stop. Beep, beep. I'm just gonna make a big sign we carry around that says beep and put it in front.
You already talked to me.